Hi, this is Irv. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that will help you be more effective and efficient using DocPro. I'll try to keep it short and point out just some useful things, but not go overboard. So starting out, let's click on Login and just go put our user ID and password as usual. A couple points, computer date, you should check that, make sure that your computer date and computer time are somewhat accurate within a couple minutes. And on the accounting date, you probably know you can always set that back to yesterday or the day before if that's you're doing all yesterday's work. That whatever you put in here will come up as the default for your work. So if you want to do work from an older day, you could put that older day in there. Just make sure you exit before you do the newer day. We'll log in, ignore that error message. And we're on the main menu. When you're on the main menu, just one trick is to press the F as in full, and it'll go to full screen. That's just if you don't want to have to use the mouse. Just press F anytime you're on the main menu, you go to full screen. Let's go ahead and go to patient registration, and we end up on a patient. We'll just use that one. I'm going to come down and click on Edit. The first thing I'd like to do is show you some special things you can do with the keys. I just press Enter. I pressed it until we got here. Let's come over and say we're changing this from 1620 to 1621. Now, as long as I haven't left that field, if I say, oh, I didn't really mean to do that, and now I forget what I had in there, if I press the Escape key, ESC, just once, it will restore what I had there. And then I'll just press Enter, and it just now is back to where it was. I'm going to use the up arrow, and this time I will do something different. Remember, the Escape key, if I make a mistake, like if I start typing 1, 2, 3, and that in this case the whole thing disappeared, I could press Escape once and it will bring it back. Another thing that's helpful is if I just start typing now, like say I wanted to make it 6221, 6221, well, I've lost everything else. So I could press Escape and then I could just press Enter and use the up arrow, come back. And this time, if I go in at least one letter, then even if I come back out, it doesn't matter. I'm able to now make changes and they'll be inserted. So that's how you go from overtype to insert. You just, when you get on the field, if you start typing, you're going to be in overtype. If you press Escape, you'll get back what you had. But when you come into a field, if you use the right arrow and come in one or more letters, now you're in insert mode, and that can be pretty helpful. So that's another useful tip. That's a very useful one. Now with the Escape key, by the way, if you press Escape twice, it will jump out of the whole screen. And even if I press it again, it'll jump out of everything and get me back to where I started. So the Escape key can be a fast way out of things. Say I'm up in here and I don't want to be there. If I just press Escape a few times, I get out. That works on most of DocPro screens. Let's also look at navigating through the fields. If I hit the Enter key, it goes down, but also if I hit the down arrow key, it goes down, and if I hit the up arrow key, it goes up. And the interesting thing is if I hold down the down arrow, it'll go to the end, but it won't go off. If I hold up the arrow, up arrow, it will go to the top but will not go off. So I can go back and forth with the arrow keys. However, if I go to the bottom and I hit the Enter key, it goes off. So if I do modify and I hold down the Enter key, it goes right through and goes off. Now, so that's just a handy thing if I want to get to the end of this field without using the mouse. The end field, I can just do that with the down arrow and it will stop there. Okay, so let's also show you a couple other things here. This one is kind of a fun one. This is copy and paste. Let's say we're there. Now let's edit again, and let's come down to the email. I use my down arrow, and I want to put an email. Now let's say I have A, B, C, D, a long email to put in there. If I have another place in another program where I can get that email, like let's say, for example, let me find Eastwood because I actually have his email. So here's Clint Eastwood. Let's go edit. I hit the key edit. Use the down arrow, get to his email. Now watch, I'm going to click down here. I just happen to have another place where I know I can find his email. I'm going to highlight it with the mouse, and then I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to go over to DocPro, and I'm going to right click and say, gee, I wish I could copy and paste, but I can't. But what I can do, it's in the buffer in Windows, and all I have to do is hold down the CTRL key and press V as in Victor, and I can get it. So that's copy and paste, and that's pretty handy. Most fields in DocPro, you won't know that you're going to do a copy and paste, or you won't be able to get it from the mouse, but you can get it with Control V for copy. Now the other thing you can do also is you could come up here. I can use the mouse to highlight that field like this, and now I can hold down Control and press C, and that just copied it. You don't know that it did, and now I can press Control V, and I just pasted it. So that's how you control, how you can use the copy and paste, which is kind of a handy thing to know. Let's get out of here and let's just cancel everything. Now let's do, let's go over to the ledger. We'll show you some things over here. I'm going to the ledger. Let's do a C for charge. The date field has a lot of features, and say I want to do yesterday instead of today. This is showing you Saturday, but if I hit the minus key, it'll go back to Friday. If I hit minus, it'll go back to Thursday. Minus, back to Wednesday. If I hit the plus key, it'll go up to Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So minus and plus, and I don't need to use the shift, even though the plus is on the top of a key. You don't need to use the shift. So the negative and plus are handy. And again, remember, we can press escape once, that's ESC, and it'll put it back to where we started. Now, another thing that's handy is, let me just get out of here, back to the date. Say I wanted to put in like 9:15, I could put 0915 and press enter. And if you notice, it filled in the year for me. So a nice thing about it is I put 09, let's say 15. I don't need to put the dashes or anything, and it's going to know that it's the current year when I press enter. So that'll save you time, and it's better than saying 09-15-201, yeah, 2015. It's a lot nicer than that, okay? Now I'm going to press escape a bunch of times. Again, it gets me out of there. Let's do a charge, and let's press enter. When we get to a lookup table, we can always press, we can always use the mouse on this upside down triangle, and it'll bring things up. But we can also press the F1 key, and it brings the same thing up, which is handy, because if I press F1, then I might just put a X, and now I don't have to use the mouse at all for that. Now I could just step through and just keep it. So that's the lookup. Let's take another one. Let's do F for find, and I want to show you on all these lookup tables throughout the system, it'll usually come up with the left column being the column that you're using to do your lookup. So in this case, obviously, if I type Nelson down here, it's going to come up to Nelson. And you can tell that because the last has the asterisks up there. Now what if I double clicked on first? Well, now it's organized by first. So let's say I wanted everyone that had the name Jane. Well, because this is highlighted or asterisk has the asterisk up here, I can now come down and if I type Jane, it's finding Jane. Okay, and if I want the second one, I could just use the down arrow, press enter, and keep. So generally, any field up here, even the account number, can be double clicked. The date of birth is not going to work, but the others you probably won't need. The city possibly could be handy. You know somebody's from Los Angeles, and you could now do a lookup by that. And this is, I'm looking it up by LOS for Los Angeles, and we find somebody that way. So that's the dates, the shortcuts, the F1, the copy and the paste. Okay, well that's probably enough tips and tricks for one session. There's quite a bit there, and you can experiment with it. One caution on the escape key is be careful, because when you escape and escape and escape, it tries to throw away everything that it can. So don't put a charge halfway in and press, say, I'm done, escape, escape, that's a quick way out. It'll try to throw away everything. So you probably won't get your charge at all. But if you were halfway through, if you were in a receipt or posting payments, you might be halfway through, and if you press escape, it might not throw away the first half, okay? It'll keep it and just throw away the second half. So only use escape when you're just carefully saying, I just got into a place and I want to get out of there quickly. You be careful, because remember, it's trying to throw things away. So enter is the safer thing. Okay, so that's going to be it for this session, and have a great day. Thank you.